The NFL stands for not for long.
Set, Sharga and Armstead. Roll out, Walker still running out. Looks to the left, wide open, Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of
him. What a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofting corner, the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Colin Thompson Show, presented by Not For Long Media. Hanging out with my man, Jack Connell. Jack, how we doing today?
Doing good, man. You know, just enjoying the nice, cool 40, 50 degrees here. Best weather in America, according to you, because how much you shit talk Key West. I mean, it drives me up a wall when I hear you critique the weather of Key West.
Well, here's the thing, Jack. It's just when it gets windy and the sun goes down, you know, it's cold. All right. It's all relative. And then like a day like today's beautiful, but it's blowing 15, 20 mile an hour winds. You can't go fishing. You can't get out in the water. So you got to find yourself at a bar stool, which isn't the worst thing. But after a while, you know, you got to taper that back. So it's been fun. It's been a great trip mixed with a lot of work, more than normal down here. Usually I take a couple weeks off and kind of shut it down. But, you know, with our new show, which I'll get into maybe a little bit here, Food, Drinks, Football, that's kind of a new travel style show. Anthony Bourdain, Guy Fieri type stuff I'm doing. Our team's doing. Georgia, Luke, Jack, our whole team's been involved in. We'll still do the Colin Thompson Show and do our like up-to-date current stuff. And speaking of that, Tony Plagman from Guardian Caps will be joining us today on the back end of this. We did an interview a couple weeks ago. A couple technical difficulties throughout it. Jack produced the hell out of it, so it should be good to go. But if there's some awkwardness in there or something, just listen through. It's really cool. Guardian Caps, kind of near and dear to my heart, honestly. I wish I had them my whole career, but they're the bubbles wrap looking things that the players wear during training camp. And it's really evolved. Before it was just offensive linemen. Now everybody pretty much has to wear it other than wide receivers. I don't even know, maybe DBs, but punters and kickers don't have to, but everyone else has to wear them. I think they're cool. They lower risk of concussion. You know, he doesn't get into that stuff because it's not a proven fact, but it's a proven fact. Like my head injuries were down, contact points were down with those caps. So I'm a huge fan. You know, something that it's a great product, and Tony and I go into a lot of different stories and break some things down. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Everything we do here is presented by the Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com. They ship fudge. They ship sweet treats around the country. Get some of that saltwater taffy. It's a good mix up. I'm always sending it to people as gifts and thank yous and all these different things. So yeah, man, it's been a great trip down here. I'm going to do a Key West episode that people can kind of send to their friends and get a kind of local, part-time locals perspective. Because I think there's some tourist traps just like everywhere, right? But there's some things that you can do here that can have a great time. All right, so we had some chaos there. Hysterical. This is chaotic today down in Key West. We got planes flying over. I'm leaving tomorrow, so I had to empty my fridge out and have all this like food and good stuff that I don't want to like throw out, you know? So my uncle shows up like right in the middle of our fourth time trying to record this year with some peace and quiet and serenity, if you will. So Jack and I botched it. My phone, my camera's in the heat here, so it's over. It's hysterical today. It's an absolute Monday mess, and it's hysterical. So everything's excellent. Jack just went on a long rant about the NBA because I'm trying to delay because my uncle's at the door and the dog's barking and it's chaos. Jack, continue with your NBA point. A little bit cleaner. You're the best. We're trying to delay and make it better.
Let me just recompose myself here. So again, we're in the middle of the NBA season. I don't know why they decided to do it. I didn't get the information on why, but the Clippers announced a full rebrand for their franchise that won't take place until next season. New jerseys, new logos, everything. Makes no sense to me. I don't know why you would unveil this when you're smack in the middle of a season. You get no press about the uniforms because nobody cares about new jerseys in the middle of the season. You're not going to sell any of your old jerseys because you have new ones in the chamber. Nobody's going to want to buy a jersey that's going to be irrelevant. And the biggest part is 2 of the 3 big players you have promoting this new rebrand are free agents this offseason. There's a good chance they're back, but why would you have that out there? Like would be memes into oblivion if you have Paul George, James Harden walk this summer. Like, I don't understand. It's something about the jersey. I think it's a great rebrand. That nothing with that. I just don't understand the marketing and the decisions that went behind doing this right now.
It's the NBA, Jack. That's all I have to say. Now I have been watching the NBA because of one person and one person only, and this is a kid that I don't even want to say I was his mentor because I was not. I was just a older a senior in high school, and he was a 7th grader, and his dad was my football coach, and his dad, Jimmy Gillespie, is a lieutenant in the Philadelphia Police Department and has been a mentor of mine and has huge impact on my life, especially when I was younger in high school. But his son, Colin Gillespie, James was a great player, Division III All-American receiver at Widener. Colin Gillespie, star at Nova, tore his ACL last year with the Nuggets, goes to the G League. I think he was one of the only players ever, if not the only player, to average a triple-double in the G League over like a certain period of time. And like this kid, man, just when you think you know what he is, you're like, okay, he's going to be like a bench player in the NBA. He goes in the other night when they played the Trailblazers, and he dropped 18, 4 rebounds, looked like a normal guy out there. You see those highlights, Jack? Like he looked like completely normal NBA player. And I don't know why I'm shocked. I'm not shocked. Don't take it that way. But like, you just came off an ACL. You weren't drafted, and like you're doing that in an NBA game, like with Jokic, like I'm just so proud. And as an Archbishop Wood graduate and a kid that used to squirt water on my ankles, freezing cold when he was the water boy at Wood in state title game, and it's 10 degrees outside and he's shooting water. Like, I'm just so proud and happy for him. And it's a true story, like, of commitment and being great and all these different things, like, out there. Like, he's not that big, he's not that fast, he's not that strong. He's like, and he's just so good at all the things you can control. And that's like a life lesson and also a lesson for athletes out there. And like all this bullshit out there in this world of like, I got to have this trainer, I got to do this, and I got to do that. It's like, no. A friend of mine always said, like, every year Colin came back just 2-3 times better every year, like always worked on something. So it's like, happy for him, proud of him. Excited to see it play for the Nuggets. Like, they won the championship last year, and like he gets to play for that team. So did you see the highlight, Jack? It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that, and it's a kind of a, I mean, obviously Colin played incredible. The floor that Nikola Jokic raises for his teammates is absolutely incredible because there's nothing like him. Obviously, a great facilitator, a great basketball mind will always raise the level of his teammates surrounding him. But when it is a center that is doing this and combined with their own skill set, it is truly otherworldly. Joel Embiid does it to a somewhat level, but Nikola Jokic does it 20 times better just because of how great he is at passing the ball. That game, he had 14 assists. He had 29 points, 15 rebounds, 14 assists, which is the craziest thing about that. That's a normal night for Jokic.
Yeah.
Like, I say that, and I'm not even surprised just because he does it so effortlessly.
Does he end up being like a Mount Rushmore NBA guy?
I think he's on the trajectory.
Like he's going to be, I would take him over Joel.
Yeah, I mean, they both.
Pains me to say it, but I would.
I'm looking right now because I feel like, I don't know if he's the exact. I feel like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander might be. Yeah. So looking right now, Jokic is the betting favorite for winning MVP. It looks at this website. I don't know if that's the exact accurate right now, but he's at least in the top 5. There's a couple guys, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but he's going to win a third MVP. If he does win that third MVP, that puts him above everybody that's active right now except LeBron. I mean,
I'm just saying, like, stats and all that aside, like, just the pure eye test, like, this guy is like, looks like he's playing against little kids out there.
The way him and Luka Doncic, I mean, it's incredible watching how all of these non-American basketball players are really dominating. Literally, you look down the list. Yeah, Joel, but I'm not really referencing Joel right now because he's hurt. Just talking about the current state of the NBA.
Yeah.
SGA, who's Canadian, incredible. Luka Doncic, otherworldly. I mean, Jokic. I mean, there are so many great guys. Giannis. It's literally, you look at the top players right now, the best active American outside LeBron is probably Jason Tatum. Everyone else is European, Canadian, whatever. It's incredible to watch how the sport of basketball has grown. I mean, it's always been an international sport.
This is the product stuff, though. The NBA is so tough to watch, dude. Like,
yeah,
I know. I'm not saying the NHL. I'll tell you what, though. The NHL, there's like fights now. People are hitting. Like, it's changing. The NHL is actually allowing it to happen a little bit more. That's what I would say to the NBA is like, dude, let these guys play a little more defense. Like, it's too much of a buddy league. And I get it. I get that. In football, you can't get that because you'll get exposed physically and nobody wants that to happen, like to get punked. But like in the NBA, it's kind of like, oh, he got me there. Like, oh, here we go. It's like, go ahead and defend the NBA.
No, nothing. This is just another absurd thing that's just going to keep getting even crazier. Here's an absurd stat for you. Victor Wembanyama is the first player in NBA history to have 75 3-pointers, 150 assists and 150 blocks in the same season. He's done that in 48 games.
Yep.
He had the first 5x5 in I think 18 years, and he almost had back-to-back 5x5s the night before. He was like one steal short.
Yeah.
It's watching Wembanyama. We talk about the absurdity of Jokic and all stuff. Victor Wembanyama, like he is the San Antonio Spurs right now. Like he would never win it, but like he should have been an all-star this year, just from the sheer fact that he is the only reason the Spurs have won a single game all season.
Yep.
He is absolutely absurd. And the craziest part is he's putting up these unreal numbers on 26, 27 minutes a game. Like, and most of these guys are playing 35 minutes a night. He's doing it in about a third, like 75% of the time. He is going to, if you thought the league is broken now, he will blow it to smithereens in 2-3 years tops.
Yeah. Just how long he is. Like the stuff he does around the rim is like a joke. Again, like it's like me on a Little Tykes net with a bunch of kids that are 3 years old. It's like, it's cool. I just want to see more physicality. That's all. I'm not saying it's got to be crazy and Ron Artest like fights and stands. I'm just saying, like, let the guys play defense. Let the guys hand check a little bit. Like I saw the clip and people may have seen it, like Shaq asking Allen Iverson what he'd average. And I think he averaged like 30 that 1 year or whatever it was. And he's like, I'd average like, he's like, I'd average 43. And I don't think that's a hot take. Like AI, like crossing people over, used to get grabbed. Like if you watch that, he would get grabbed and wouldn't go to the line. Like, so like Shaq, like I don't even know if Shaq would dominate. Like it'd be really weird. So that's it for our NBA talk. I can't do any more, Jack. I love you though. I love you the most. And our listeners probably like, dude, just talk about the NBA. I can't do it. I mean, it's good. Just everything's excellent. You're the best, Jack. What do we got today? A couple questions. I dialed up a couple questions. Jack's going to ask.
A couple questions. We've been so far removed. We have not talked on screen together in a few weeks. What do you think of the Travis Kelce, Andy Reid altercation from this thing called the Super Bowl that happened like a month ago?
Yeah, so this happened a few weeks ago. I really wanted to take the time to digest it. I'm going to explain this, and people don't take this personally or look into it too much, but if you didn't play the game, if you didn't understand football at that level, at that moment, and the relationship they have for a long period of time, you're really not going to get the situation. Was he wrong for bumping Andy? Absolutely. And I guarantee you, and you saw it in his clip, he didn't mean to bump up him like that, and Andy lost his balance, and it was not good. So awesome clip with the brothers, the Kelce Brothers podcast, and Jason's kind of feeding it to him a little bit and saying, hey, bro, that was not good. And he's like, I know, man, I screwed up. But like, that stuff happens in practice. Players fight with coaches. It's different. It's different at that level, especially if you have respect for each other. Now, if you're disrespecting, you don't have a relationship with someone like Andy and Travis do, then you're going to get cut. But like, they are very close. And I guarantee you that happened before. I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying it's not surprising to me, and it does not bother me as an former NFL player. It seems very aggressive. It was very inappropriate, if you will. But if they're yelling at each other, it doesn't bother me. It bothers me that he went chest with him and hit him and knocked Andy off. But Andy handled like a pro. Travis handled it like a pro personally and publicly, from what I understand. So it's tough look for sure, but it doesn't bother me as a former player.
Gotcha. We'll move forward. I don't really have anything to say on. I don't really have any interaction, but we got the combine going on, Colin. The NFL combine. You ever heard of it?
Never heard of
Marvin Harris Jr. really hasn't. He's not taking part of his pro day or his combine, and he doesn't have an agent. Does any of this really concern you for the top pick?
No, it does not concern me at all, because the guy like him, listen, a lot of these contracts or boilerplate, and he's going to have a ton of leverage, and he's going to be like, this is what I want. This is how it's going to go. His dad's got a ton of experience in this thing as well. He'll do some representation with him too. I'm sure his dad's former agents probably helping, or who knows. Like when you have all the leverage in the world, you be your own agent, and he'll be fine, and he'll save the 3% he's got to pay his agent. So good for him. The combine stuff, why would he need to do it? The pro day stuff, why would he need to do it? Just chill. You earned it. You're that good. Get in football shape. I love that in a way. Like when I did the combine, the pro day at Temple, and I was training And it was a great place. Chip Smith down in Atlanta. They're fantastic in Norcross. Like, I would suggest anybody go there to train. But I was not in football shape. I was in 3-cone shape. I was in, and it's not a slight at the gym, but it's part of that process. Like, you're not in football shape when you do that stuff. You're just not. Like, you need to be in football shape and get ready for OTAs and get ready for training camp, because it is a long, long, long year. You finish your college season, and then you go right into training, and then you go right into OTAs. Then you don't have any time off. Like, a lot of NFL guys are taking these next, like, they take about a month, 6 weeks off and build their body back up. Of course, the trash guy pulls up here as we're doing the clip here in Key West, Florida. It's chaos, and this podcast has been chaos. We appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging on. We're going to get the Guardian caps here in a little bit. But no, it doesn't bother me, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I've dropped him 10 spots because he didn't do his 5-10-5. I mean, that's the only thing I do to evaluate players. We'll stick with, I'm flipping around the questions here. We're sticking with the combine. People that are going to be there, coaches, media members, scouts. What do you suggest food-wise, eateries, drinkeries? Where do you suggest to go?
There's only one spot to go when you're in Indy, man. That's Tony's, right downtown. Tony's Italian Steakhouse, seafood. Place is fantastic. Gio Ricci, good buddy of mine, fullback tight end for the Panthers. His dad owns it, several locations kind of in the Midwest there. But Tony's, it's fantastic. It's right around the street from like St. Elmo's and all that. Honestly, it's just as good, if not better, in my opinion, than all those other places down there. So they got to check out Tony's when they're there. Whenever you're in Indy, check it out. Let them know we sent you. Go in there. He's the best guy, big Italian guy, like huge hands, like gives you a big hug. Like, the guy's an absolute legend. So yeah, check out Tony's. That's going to be the funny part about that trip too is, like, so many deals will be made at those bars in Indy. Guys trying to get jobs next year, coaches and scouts, trying to figure out trades, breaking down different reports they have on players. Like, there's so much work that's done in Indy, and it's great that it's Indy. I hope it stays there. It doesn't need to go to LA. It doesn't need to be it already is a cash cow, and it's great for a small Midwestern town. Like, don't botch it and take it to some city and move the combine around. Keep it there. It's really unique and really special.
And now football's done. What are you watching sports-wise? You got hockey, basketball, spring training?
Yeah. So there's a lot of, like, you got to be creative now with your sports stuff. You got to really look at the calendar and look at things. So I love college baseball. ESPN Plus, you can really go find like a weird Tuesday night college baseball game in like a funky stadium. Like, I think that's really cool and kind of funny and fun to do. Obviously, you got the NBA, NHL. To me, the Premier League now, this is when they're like really in full swing. They're through the midpoint of the season. Like, the soccer's just getting so good. So I love the Premier League. F1 starting. There's a lot to do. You got to get caught up on your shows and all that stuff too. But this is kind of the dead period. I'll tell you what, I've been saying it. The NHL now is better than it's ever been when it comes to, like, it got really soft in my opinion, but now they're fighting. There's entertainment. There's drama. Like, it's not the NBA in my opinion, which I've tried to watch on this trip, but I just can't get into it.
Yeah. Those are my questions. I don't really have. I mean, I've been trying to watch a little more hockey. I've been slowly getting more and more back into my hockey form. Baseball, nah, I don't even want to. Baseball is irking me with the jerseys and everything. I don't even want to get into that. College basketball, I'll tune in the March Madness briefly.
Come on, Fanatics. Come on, man. Like, how many times, like, are they getting ripped for their product over the years? There's like Twitter pages about it. Like, and they just, like, come on, man. Come on. You
don't mess with the cash cow. So you can do it, the fans. The second it impacts your $300 million men, it's when you start to get some issues.
What about women, Jack? What is it? They make clothes for women too?
Well, I didn't know there was women MLB players.
That's true. I'm just giving you shit. Guys, it's been an absolute mess of a pod and fun pod today. Just a quick one. Guardian caps, it's fantastic stuff. Like, literally, it's the future of football. I always say to people, football is safer now for your kids than ever. When I started, I'm 30. When I started playing football, we had to earn our water breaks. Like, that's not that long ago. We had to earn our water breaks. You would want to practice. And if you wanted more, you had to earn it. You had to practice hard, whatever. Like, now you get water as much as you want. Like, it's not a big thing. Like, so, and back then you had to get your bell rung. Like, again, that wasn't that long ago. And the helmets were like bricks. Like, the game has evolved so much. The coaching has evolved too. I think that's a big part of it, like the youth coaches. So I would suggest football to anybody now more than ever. The game should be growing. There's a lot to unpack there, but the Guardian caps are the future of it. I think some really cool stuff. And, we had just a great interview, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for more. We got a lot of fun stuff coming with Food, Drinks, Football. I'm going to do a whole Key West episode, like I said earlier, talking all about this lovely little island that I like to call home, or part-time home, I guess. So, Jackie, appreciate you being the man and producing this mess. And a lot of traveling coming up the next couple of weeks here. I'm really excited for some great content we're going to be putting out. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned. All right, so we got Tony Plagman joining us today from Guardian Caps, a product that I've talked about really at length here on the show. And then we had a social media clip that Guardian Caps picked up when I was with the Panthers probably over a year or so ago, whatever it was. Tony, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm jacked to have you on. Like I said, it's a brand that I love as a player, and it's unique too for our listeners. Everyone, I'm used to having we have football insiders on, we have beat writers on, we have players on, but to have a product on is fun and unique because I think this plays a huge role in the football world. And really, you guys work with all sports and do a bunch of different stuff too, not
Right.
just protecting, your head and helmets. But if you could do a brief overview of the product before we get into kind of your personal journey and story, because I think that tells us a part of the story of the brand too. What is Guardian Cap, and what do you think the impact it has on the football world?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you kind of the sales overview pitch, if you will. I've got a couple right here, so I'll hold one up. So Guardian Cap, soft shell helmet cover. We've got two different models. So we've got the XT, which is youth through college, and then the NXT is the NFL model, which is what you wore. It's the same principle, right? Reducing some of the impact at the point of contact. So our XT is 7 ounces. Our NXT is about 12 ounces. NFL tested the XT, performed well. They were worried about their linemen, their 250, 300 pound guys. So they're like, why is it so light? Can we make it better? And our owners were absolutely, we can just add a little bit more material. So that's how they came up with the NFL version. But reduces the latest algorithm is HARM, head acceleration response metric. So that's what all the labs are testing for. It's way over my head, but the NFL tested the NXT had an average of 9 to 10% reduction in harm. Stanford did their own independent testing on the XT model. Again, they had an average of 10% to 25% reduction in harm, depending on the impact velocities. So 25% at the lower speeds, that's 3.5 meters per second. And then down to an average of 10% at 7.4 meters per second. So that's pretty large impact velocities. But one size fits all, just 4 straps that slide through the face mask, snap back to itself. It's kind of hard to see on this. And then the XT has a Velcro strap that you just pull tight, for those youth guys. And then the NXT, I think there's 2 different sizes. And you can see it's just an extra layer of protection. And then a little different. The NFL wanted to make sure we had padding on the back for the NFL guys. So those are the main differences there. Some other added benefits that most people don't really think about. Protects the helmet, like you mentioned. They look better for game day. They last longer. They perform better in games longer, especially with a lot of the moving pieces with the Speed Flex, the F7. The helmets are starting to try to reduce some of the impact because they realize this works, right?
Yeah.
Body blows is a big thing. Helmets, knees, hips, QB's hands, not, breaking a thumb. We heard some kind of anecdotal feedback that a couple QBs hit some of the Guardian Caps, and maybe that would have been a broken finger, in preseason, which would be not
and we
good.
saw that this podcast will come out a little bit later, probably after the Super Bowl, we're thinking, but
Okay.
we saw that with Stafford, right? We see with quarterbacks all the time where they're actually bleeding. It may end up being like a bruise or something, but you don't have to cover your hand with tape because you're gushing blood. So
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
That's great, man. Yeah. I think, and again, let me make this clear too, because people are probably listening this sounds like a paid thing. This is zero. I'm getting $0 to have Guardian Caps on the show today. I'll make that crystal clear. I just love the product, and I think it's an interesting product. I think there's so much to unpack with it in the sense that what people don't understand in football, and I always talk about this in sports for fans, they miss the boat on football players disappear for a week, every week in season. They disappear every offseason. There's really no eyeballs on it to really see what practice is like. In baseball, you can track a player and say this player got better or worse over time because they play every day, 6-7 days a week. But in football, you do I would say 95% of your work when the lights aren't on 17 weeks a year. Like your biggest hits you take are in practice and they happen routinely, and you can't pull yourself out of practice because you got to make the team. So if you have a head issue, you're probably not making the team if you're a bottom of the roster guy. So when you put this on, like, yes, it protects you. Everybody like loves that part, but there's like the financial implication for bottom of the roster guys like me. Like this tells me I can go a little bit harder in practice than maybe I would have subliminally. Sure. I'm not like saying I'm going to not play as hard or play harder, but I think that's a part of it too that people don't discuss is like, you're helping guys have a shot a little bit more than a guy who's like, okay, I just got a ringer, my bell rung in practice, if you will, where I've never got my bell rung in practice with a guardian cap on.
Yeah.
Like, never. And you can't like talk about this stuff and it's really cliche to say, but like that's football. You're going to get hit in the head. It's going to happen.
Right.
But that's why I love the guardian cap. I really do.
That's awesome. And you probably, I mean, you know from experience, you also don't have that crack of the helmet, right? So sound is a known headache trigger. So we've had some, again, anecdotal feedback saying, college linemen don't have those daily headaches, going to class, because not only are you reducing some of the impact, but you're also reducing that sound. So that's a pretty cool side benefit too. And to your point about, we get, when we say the NFL is using them, like, oh, well, they don't hit in practice. Like, do you watch Hard Knocks? Those guys get after it. And maybe it's only, the first couple of weeks, but there's, like you said, there's guys trying to make the team, and they got to prove themselves. And so if we can add an additional layer of protection, we're happy to be there.
I think too, what people don't understand in practice is in preseason practice, the starters are rolling. They are going and they are trying to build a callus for the season. Guys like me, bottom of the roster, you may get, if a starter gets hurt or misses a practice, you're playing, you're rocking and rolling, you're getting big time reps. But if everyone's healthy, you may get a couple reps here and there at the end of a period. There may be a developmental period at the end of the practice where it's just the rookies and like the guys that are on the bottom of the roster. So the games are when it matters for the bottom of the roster guys in the preseason, which everybody's well aware of, why most people don't watch preseason games. Guys like me are out there mucking it up. So what the key to that is too, is it keeps your starters healthy. Again, some of the biggest hits are the ones that you don't even like think are going to be big. And you're like, man, my bell's ringing right now. Mm-hmm. Like some of the ones where you get smoked and you're like rolling around, that's an issue. And I'll say this, the worst one, that guys will get is when you slam your head back on the ground. And if you can avoid that in practice, that's massive. I think the turf has a lot to do with that too. There's less, it is, especially this time of year, there is no bounce and no give. So it's a fun product. We'll stay down this path. What other sports are you guys involved in? I went on the website. I saw you got hockey, you're doing some lacrosse stuff. You got some turf stuff. Like you're expanding, and why expand outside of football? Yeah.
So our parent company is the Hansen Group. It's a material science engineering firm. They kind of get involved with a bunch of different projects and have ideas, and they see if they can figure out a better way to do things or reduce impact. So we make the Pearl lacrosse ball is a safer ball, and it is actually better performing as well. So rubber lacrosse balls, they harden over time and they get slick. So the Pearl is not made out of rubber. It's a polyurethane. So it keeps its grip and it stays within the safety standard its entire life. The rubber balls, they come from overseas, and by the time they get to the States, they may or may not be in that safety standard, which was, it only matters at the time of manufacturing. So it's a safer, better performing lacrosse ball. Just came out with a hockey guardian cap specific, because we tried to retrofit for hockey helmets, but they're a little smaller and it didn't quite work. So we came out with a hockey specific one this year. So just getting rolling with that. And then our XT Guardian cap fits a lacrosse helmet as well. So there's definitely some goalies that'll wear them because they're, lacrosse balls are flying at them all day during practice.
For sure. And I think too, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, what's the progression of this for games? Because that's the $1 million question, right? Especially for your guys' business. And maybe it's like, yeah, there's no shot guys are going to wear this in games. Like there's, Rydell would be pissed, or these helmet brands would be pissed. One, two, it looks a little cumbersome and different. As a player, you don't even feel it and know it's there. One, but like, I get it. Like you need to see the logo of the team on the helmet, and it looks way cleaner, right? Like there's no denying that, right? There's a picture of me behind me. Like if there's a garden cap on my head, I don't know if this picture's hanging on my wall. I have some great practice pictures that I'm like, damn. I have which is okay. At the end of the day, like it's not about that. So is there any talk like how can we get this to in a certain level? Like to me, if you're a youth sports athlete, like my son will hopefully, if they want to, I'm not going to force them into it, but if they want to play football, I may be like, hey coach, sorry, he's going to wear the Guardian cap in the game. Sorry to break it to you. Now, if he gets to high school, they want to play in high school, way different beast. But I remember 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade getting headaches. And you're like, back then when you got them, it was like, got your bell rung.
Right.
This is 2006, 7, folks. Let's remember.
Yeah.
You got your bell rung and you're like, I got a headache. Part of football. It goes away. You're young. When you're older, they don't go away as much. So I know that's a long-winded question. More of what we do on the show is conversational anyways. But like, is there any talks of like a lacrosse goalie, like maybe wearing it in a game? Maybe a hockey goalie, like, hey, man, maybe something like that. Or football at a youth level, would you wear that in a game?
I don't see why not on the hockey and lacrosse side. So youth, we have a fair amount of teams that are wearing in games. It depends on the organization, whether they want to be difficult about it. Again, it's really the looks is the biggest pushback for game day, and just status quo, right? It's easy to just be like, no, we're going to do what we've always done. We had a couple of high schools wearing in games this year. So there's Park High School in Minnesota warming games. He found out from the state organization that it was allowed. I think Minnesota makes them like everybody has to wear one or nobody's wearing them just from a uniform standpoint. And he had every guy in them. And he shared the data with us. He was very pleased with the game day outcome. I think they had, and again, anecdotal. I always have to put that out there, right? Because there's no way to prove the concussion stuff. So I think they had 2 concussions in games the whole year. So that's not bad. We're working on a better looking version, just something that you can logo. And so we may have something ready for the 2024 season.
You don't want to commit to anything.
Yeah. I gotta be careful what I can say.
I like it though. The anecdotal part, right? That makes sense. Like no one knows about the stuff, right? That's a fear of a player. It's a fear I go through. What am I going to be like when I'm 50?
Yeah.
I try to do some things and health wise and training wise to stay sharp and do different, but you don't know. Some guys don't have any issues and they live to 100 and they play football and they have all their marbles, and some guys are 40 and they have an issue, and that's part of this game. No, it's interesting, right? The logo is the big thing. The logo is the big thing, and that's in practice. You're fine. You got to make sure you still can see. You're not covering Rydell, so you don't hear it from them. And other than that, no, I think it's great. I'll never say enough positive things about it, just for the pure fact that it extended my career. Like, who knows? Like, practice is violent, especially for a guy like me. I'm a blocking tight end. Like, in a game, how many reps am I getting? 10, 20? Most I played in the NFL games, probably 30 plays. 30 plays, that's it. So, like, in practice, I have to do my job. I have to be physical. I can't be like, I'll save it for the game, like a lot of players can.
Right.
Because, they're playing massive volume. So, I think that's the one thing, again, I'll make crystal clear is, yeah, sure, first and foremost, it keeps you healthy and safe, but it helps guys practice better. And that's the sales pitch to me. If I was at your business, would be like, and, like, I'm not reinventing the wheel probably, or maybe I am with you guys, but, like, you allow people to practice harder at a higher level. And if you practice hard at a high level, you're going to continue to play in this league, period. I don't care how well you play in the games. If you do okay and practice great, you're going to stick around in any sport for any kid listening.
Yeah.
But I think once you get the logos on it, that's a ticket to those games for sure, especially for like goalies and youth sports. Like they'll be, I may have to be the head coach of my son's youth team and make them all wear Guardian caps just for that.
We'll get you a good deal for sure. Yeah, the practicing harder, we like to say it's business as usual, right? The kids forget it's there. You're still focusing on technique. Obviously they still need to be properly hydrated and good nutrition, because it's all part of that bigger picture, right? And it's not one thing that's going to make that's going to prevent all injuries. But if you can do the little things, hopefully it's a safer environment, right? But yeah, our thing is it's going to keep your guys fresh for game day. A lot of the research is showing those smaller blows are adding up. It may be that straw that breaks the camel's back. So if we can push that out past the season, for even one kid, that's going to be big. And that's we get some pushback on the sports medicine side, because they want to make sure kids aren't being reckless, right? They think they've got a magic pill on their head. And so that's why we get high school coaches say they went from double-digit concussions to 1 or 2 in practice, and we can't use any of that in our marketing, because again, it's all anecdotal. The only thing we say from a concussion standpoint is what the NFL has shared with us, and they had a 52% reduction, which is huge. But outside of that, we focus on the reducing harm, really.
That's right. The sales pitch is not, and I'll make this clear, right? Because you're probably like, oh, Colin's saying he could be reckless in practice now. No, it just helps with the thought of, especially for an older player, I'll be honest, right? You have only so many hits in your body that are quote unquote you can take if you want to live I think normal life after. It allows me to have a little more peace of mind. That's all. And it would give me peace of mind as a parent, because I know how many shots I've taken over my career, whether they're concussions or they're just a little headache or whatever it may be.
Right.
I would love for my child, when we have one, not to go through the same thing. So if anything, the youth sports level is great. And I'll say this too about the league. A lot of guys kicked and screamed in the beginning, right? And I'm sure you were like,
oh yeah,
guys, I'm telling you, it's fine. But now no one says a word.
Right.
Like literally nobody says it. Doesn't even, it's just a part of the fabric of it, which is probably so nice for you to put your head on the pillow and know that, because I know you, financially, business wise, it's great, but also like you have to have passion about this thing to really be invested in it, right? Like you're an athlete yourself, and that's what I want to get in now. Like tell me about your journey. Like where are you from? How'd you get started in sports?
Yeah, so I'm from the Atlanta area, Atlanta, Georgia. Played football and baseball in high school. Played a little linebacker, and remember back then. This was 2003 and 4. We had Oklahoma drills still.
Oh yeah,
and especially spring ball when there's not as many guys out there. I'm playing linebacker with one other guy, and we're lighting up the hole each time, seeing stars, getting up, do it again. I mean. So looking back on that, if I could have had anything to help, my mentality is I wasn't slowing down regardless. So,
No,
hopefully I was.
That's a part of it too. Like,
yeah,
you can be open. Like everyone, it's a part of the game. Everybody knows what they signed up for. Like you want to do things the right way, especially back in 2000s.
Yeah.
Like we had to earn our water breaks. Think about that.
Yeah.
Like I had to earn it. Like at practice, we had one water break a practice, and if you did well, you got more.
Yeah,
that's crazy to think about now.
Yeah, remember the Titans? We had guys that were not drinking water because of that movie, right?
It was like be tough and like not it's be tough, right? Like don't show weakness. Like I get all those things, but like the water part is an interesting one. So continue. Yes, back to high school sports and.
Yeah, and luckily I played quarterback my senior year, and we had a new coach came in from Evangel Christian in Louisiana, and they went 4 and 5 wide before anybody was doing that. And so I just threw the ball in every play. It was the most fun I ever had playing any sport, really. My conditioning was just throwing routes to the receivers. Like I didn't have to run at all. It's amazing. And then I was better at baseball. So I ended up being a preferred walk-on to the Georgia Tech baseball team, played 4 years there, and then was drafted by the Tigers. So I played 3 years of minor league ball, tore my ACL in the off season after my AA year, playing slow pitch softball. So that was kind of a dagger.
It's always something that gets you that you're like, basketball did me in too many times, my friend. But
yeah. So that was it. I trained to play another season, and when the volunteer baseball coaching position opened up at Tech, I jumped on that. So I coached there for 2 years, and then got out of coaching, got a real job. I was in IT sales for a year. A buddy I played baseball with at Tech was with Guardian, and he was pretty much running all the sales. And that's when they launched the lacrosse ball, and he needed help. So I came in, started on the lacrosse side, sold both, and just had more of a passion for the Caps, and saw how much of an impact I was making, and that's when I went all the way over to the Cap side a little later on. So this is year 8 with Guardian, and we keep growing, and obviously the NFL has helped on that side, but I think we're helping a lot of kids. So
that's great, man. What a journey. What's your favorite part about working with the business?
Probably this time of year, especially, we've got all the coaches clinics. We just got back from AFCA, so we got our whole team together, and got to hang out with all the coaches we work with, and that's clinic season is fun. Get to travel. It's a little cold. I have to go to Chicago and Minnesota in a few weeks, so it's gonna be cold. But it's getting to see all different parts of the country, because you can go anywhere and there's high school football. So you can even go on vacation and go see a couple coaches while you're there. So that's probably the best part of it.
That sounds like my kind of work, man. I'm going to Key West here. This will come out probably when we're in Key West, but I got like 4 or 5 different work events done while I'm there in Key West for a couple weeks. So that allows me to have some more fun, I think, and balance it out. And I don't know, man, I struggle to take some time off, so hopefully I'll shut it down there too. So are you a Tech football fan?
I am. They started using Guardian caps this year, which helped.
Come on, Jeff Collins. What did you do, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know. UGA has been using them for like 3 or 4 years. So, I'm a UGA football fan because they use them, and Bama's been in them for a while. They're obviously fun to watch. But we've got 23 of the top 25 college football programs. I think.
I think the question is, why aren't teams, like, everybody knows about them now, and there's people have the budget for it, I'm guessing, somewhat.
Yeah.
So, like, hey, we're just going to put our offensive linemen in it. Hey, we're going to put our linebackers and tight ends in it. I get maybe a DB and a wideout, your quarterback, fine. But, like, a budget for 30 pieces, like, I don't know, it seems fair.
Yeah. And 30, that's under $2,000, probably $1,800.
Yeah. So, like, that's
nothing crazy.
Yeah. So why aren't they? Why don't you think teams are?
I think we get pushback on a couple of sides. We get pushback from the helmet companies. They view us as a competitor, and so they tell coaches not to use them. So, and
that's
they listen
stupid.
To
Why wouldn't they align with you guys and be like, it's great, but you still need the helmet. You need the helmet more than the Guardian cap, right? Because without the helmet, you don't have a Guardian cap. So great. Like, again, I don't know.
Yeah, and we get youth programs that'll buy 100, and then they come back to us right before the season starts, and they need 10 more. So they need 10 more helmets too. So we feel like we're helping grow numbers, especially at the youth, and youth through high school numbers for sure. Because parents see that the coach is trying to do everything they can to create that safe environment, right? So I think status quo just is pretty easy, and then sports medicine we get pushback on that side because a lot of team doctors or athletic trainers, they want proof on how it can prevent concussions, and again, no product has that. So even the best helmet, right, that $2,000 helmet can't prove how it reduces more concussions than a $300 helmet. So we know we can reduce more of the head acceleration response metric, but they want hard data on or they think they can spend the money in other places better.
Which is fair. I get that. I mean,
Yeah.
not everyone has that type of cash, but at younger levels. I'm just confused by some of these college football programs. Like, do my Temple Owls have it? I don't think they do.
I do not believe
Probably.
so.
I know.
They actually used to. I think when Rule was there,
No,
maybe
it was
his last
not.
couple.
I wish.
No.
Maybe.
What years?
I needed it.
What years were you there?
14, 15, 16. Still doing Oklahoma drill. Or we didn't call it Oklahoma
can I
drill. I
look
don't want
real
anybody
quick?
getting look. Yeah, we don't
I'm
care.
gonna look to see what they definitely had it at one point. But so Temple, I don't know about Temple, but some of the smaller colleges, if they have one equipment guy that has zero help, it's kind of a burden to get them on. Right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's another part of this big business,
again.
right?
What's that?
I've had stuff, yeah, because I've had literally all like in a walkthrough where you're in your helmet and literally like the tackle goes the wrong way or I go the wrong way and run into the tackle.
Yeah.
And you're like, are you shitting me? I just got a little something off of this. Like, again, not a concussion. Who knows? Like, put an asterisk next to everything we're saying here. Like, not talking science. We're just trying to be real. But like, you're like, damn. Like,
yeah.
Like the side of the head too. You get a little shot there. That's an awkward one.
Definitely.
You don't like when it's in the face. Like, you just take it a little bit differently. But no, man, that's great. It's such a great product. Let's see, college football wise.
So I will mention one thing. So,
okay.
We had maybe 9, there's 14 SEC teams this past year. So I think we had maybe 11 of them. And then somebody from I believe somebody from the NFL spoke to all the head coaches, and presented the data that they had. And so we ended up having every SEC team wear them this year. So there's an article.
You, NFL coach.
I know there's a article of every SEC football coach and that just their feedback on Guardian caps. Somebody, a writer for the University of Tennessee's football team, did an article, and so that's pretty cool feedback to hear. Every SEC head coach give a little feedback.
Who's the first school?
University of South Carolina, and then Clemson right after. Why? That was 2013.
Why those schools?
Actually, I think our owner met the team doctor for USC, and he agreed to try him out.
Wow.
And then Clemson, I forget how Clemson started right then too.
What was the first high school?
It was actually, so we're in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. It was my high school, which is Wesleyan School, a small private school. They were the first high school, I'm pretty sure, in 2012.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's the future? What do you see?
It's a good question. I think we'll see some more wearing them in games. I don't know at what level. Maybe some more high schools will wear them in games next year. And I think just trying to gather more data. I know the NFL has been great about that. Is just gathering data, and obviously it's theirs, and they're going to protect that, right? But if they keep expanding, like the amount of pushback the NFL had to implement these, and it worked. It's really easy to be like, okay, it didn't do anything, right? It didn't do anything. The players don't like them. We're going to stop using them. But it went well in 2020. They expanded the use. They added running backs. They went all contact practices this year. Maybe they expanded again. Maybe they put some, DBs in them or something, or wide receivers. I'm not sure what they'll do. There were a couple of NFL teams that had everybody in them, which was pretty cool. I think the Steelers.
Yeah. Go ahead. Who else?
The Steelers, I'm blanking on who else, but even the quarterbacks, like they even had quarterbacks in, which kind of was awesome. But
Yeah,
they're
you're like
not
that's
getting
great for
touched, right?
pictures, but they don't get touched in practice.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess listen, there's always a freak accident. I think if a quarterback's live, sure. I would say everybody but the quarterbacks, the specialists, even the
right.
long snappers, like in practice, you fall. The whole thing in practice is people don't understand is falling backwards. That's what
Yeah,
gets me. When you fall forward, you can roll, but if sometimes you're going backwards, you can't stop yourself. There's nothing stopping you. So
yeah,
it's the whip. It's the whip back, and we've seen it in games. Like Matt Stafford did it again. This is going to come out a little later, but Matt Stafford did it in the playoff game against the Lions, and his head snapped back, and his eyes are open, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's fine." I'm like, I've been there. He's
yeah.
not fine.
I saw that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that one looked like
so
it hurt.
yeah. Now internationally, these games international now. The NFL's playing in Mexico. They're obviously playing over in London. They're playing in Germany. Any interest drawn overseas?
Yeah, there's definitely some interest. I think from then you have to export and import, and so it's adds to the cost, right?
Yeah.
The CFL mandated them this year, following the NFL's mandate last year. So they did O-line, D-line, linebackers, tight ends, and they had great feedback. I think they're getting ready to release their data, but they let us know they also saw a significant improvement in concussion incidents. So that's been big and a lot more traction at the lower levels there. And I think it sounds like American football in Canada is growing. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, we're definitely getting some European teams starting to get interest. Japan, there's a company that that we work with, and they have been selling a lot of Guardian caps in Japan. So that's been pretty cool. Again, not a huge market, but they're making a dent in it. Definitely.
Yeah, because what's the ripple effect, right? Like the NFL's, all right, we know the ripple effect there. College football, we know the ripple effect there. And then how that affects all these youth programs. If I'm a high school coach going to practice and I'm watching these guys practice, and then I tap the one, whatever, equipment guy on the shoulder and say, hey, what are those things on their heads? Those seem pretty cool. And they say Guardian cap. Then they go into their kid's Instagram page, look you guys up, and they're like, holy cow, you got X amount of followers and you have all these different people. Like that's that it's just a word of mouth football community.
Yeah.
That's why you're at that coaches convention. I know why you like that coaching convention too. They're having a good time down there. I know that.
They have a good time for sure.
I
sure.
was at one in Charlotte. It was the season ended. This was last year, not this past season. I got to start working on my lingo now. 2 years ago, which makes me sound old, but 2 years ago, I'm in Carolina. This time, I guess it was this time last year.
Was
The
it
coaching
AFCA? Was it the big one?
Yeah, it was
so
AFCA.
we were there.
Yeah, it was in Charlotte, right? So
Yeah.
I'm done. Season's over. So usually we go out with the guys and have drinks and hang out and meet with coaches and players, and we're like kind of ripping it up a little bit. Season's over.
Yeah.
So we couldn't go to our freaking bars. Everywhere you looked, it was like a rainbow. Everyone's wearing their I mean, God, I'm like, these guys are wearing all their team shirts. Like,
Yeah.
rule
For
number
sure.
one, don't wear your stuff. I mean, I get it's a convention, but like
Yeah.
it's like Clemson, Purdue, Westchester, Temple, Florida. It's like every team in the country's there times a million. I think, but then like 6 coaches are there.
Oh, easy. Yeah, for sure. And all the GA, they're networking. That's a big part of coaching is so and getting your foot in the door. So that's a big one for those guys.
No doubt.
And I'll say that the toughest thing for us is probably the youth market, just because it's harder for them to budget. Right, high schools have a set budget. The youth programs have to, they have to fundraise for everything they get. Right. And then they're trying to keep the cost down for their players too, which I totally understand. The good thing about our caps with the youth level is they last 4 to 5 years. So you're talking $12 to $15 extra dollars a year type of thing. We had some youth programs that'll charge an extra $20 a year, and they end up making some money, almost like a fundraiser at the end because it doesn't cost that much, right? So that's the biggest thing. And then it's a board of 8 to 10 people, and a couple may not want to deal with it, so it gets shut down. So youth is the hardest. High school is our bread and butter. I'd say we have 3,000 high schools, probably 300 colleges, and then probably 800 youth organizations across the country. So that's what, we'll keep trying to trickle down from the youth or the high school to youth is kind of the biggest thing for us.
That's great. I think too, I would love to see it one day, and this won't happen because it's really a team buy. When I was in high school, we had like a couple guys on the team get some concussions, and my parents were like, all right, and a couple of the dads, we all went down to like some sporting goods shop in Philly, and they had like a bunch of different I think there was the Shut. They had like the blue interior,
Okay.
like they were kind of funky looking, but they were like the new and improved, like comfy
Yeah.
helmet. Like instead of the concrete pads that were in there,
Oh yeah.
like it was relatively comfortable, and that helped. I really think it did help me. But like I would love it to be like almost like you're buying a pair of cleats that last longer. Like, all right, I use it 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and like if my high school team doesn't have it, I'm going to bring it to the next level and wear it in practice and not get made fun of for it. That's the biggest thing, right? The peer pressure of I'm here by first day of practice and I'm the only kid out there.
Yeah.
So no, it's interesting. It's interesting. I want to talk online because I'm involved in so many different teams, and those teams they don't have caps. So
Okay.
we'll talk. But
yeah,
listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. This is awesome. It's unique. It's fun. We try to provide that for the listeners, and I'll be in touch and looking forward to following the journey.
Yeah. I appreciate the time and definitely good chatting with you.